Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker associate Frank Gaudino of Keller Realty based out of Jupiter, Florida. Frank carries a long list of commendations, including being selected to the Agent Leadership Council, which consists of the top 20% of agents in his office, and he was also featured in Top Agent magazine. So with all that said, Frank, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Keith. Good to be here.
Frank, if we could start with what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
It was kind of both. Real estate was always kind of in the back of my mind. I started taking real estate classes about 10 years ago, and I never finished. I never went through with it. I kind of wish I did at this point in time. I always knew people that were in the business, and they always seemed to be helping other people out. And, honestly, the business kind of just seemed glamorous to me at some points in time. But ultimately, like I said, after some business opportunities that I had in the past, things went bad. I literally just kind of stumbled into it finally after all these years.
Excellent. And what personal attributes, traits, or qualities do you think have most contributed to the success that you've had? And then can you talk a little bit about how you developed those?
Yeah, sure. It's funny, but I think my need for things to be perfectly working is one of the good qualities that I have, and another one is my obsession of answering the phone. I think ever since I was a kid, I always kind of wanted to figure out how things work and just figure out how things ended up where they were, just to fully understand something. As far as the phone obsession goes, I strongly believe that the number one problem with real estate agents today is they don't answer the phone. And they have a pretty big lack of communication between themselves and their potential clients and their clients that they have.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Like you said, I actually, we just had a friend the other day. She was talking and she's like, oh yeah, I was looking for an agent and I filled out a request form online, either Zillow or one of those things, and he called me back 5 days later. And I'm like, in a world of instant gratification, people want an answer immediately, and 5 days, especially with technology, is certainly not going to cut it.
I agree with you. Do
you think you could give us a specific example of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Yeah, absolutely. Just recently, the current buyers that I just put under contract with a great home, they called 3 agents before me. Not one of them answered the phone or called them back. And now they tell me that they thank God every day that none of those agents answered the phone because they found me. Another one is kind of a bit complicated. I was selling a client's home and he was buying another home. The timing was difficult to navigate because he needed to be out of his home before he actually closed on his new home. Just based on the contract and things like that, timing was just weird. So, through, I think, clear and effective communication on all parties on the deal, we got creative and made something happen. So I think communication is just key to success in this business.
Absolutely. And I think with any business and success that sometimes not everything's a smooth road to success. So can you talk a little bit about some of the major adversities or trials that you've had to overcome in order to have the success that you've had?
Yeah, being new was tough. That was the hardest thing, and it still is. I'm relatively new in a lot of people's eyes. I've been doing this 3 years, but you don't have a clear track record. My friends have already been in this business for a while before I came in it, so my sphere of influence was kind of null. There was no sphere of influence there. So, it was tough. It was tough to get started. It's tough to get the word out there. I think that's the biggest adversity that I've had to face, is just being new in the business. I know I can do it. I know I'm better than 90% of agents out there. It's just convincing somebody to listen to me and understand that.
Excellent. And obviously, you could have given up on things. You could have been like, this is frustrating. So what kept you going despite running into these obstacles? And why don't you give up? What's your driving force?
My driving force is my family, my wife, my kid. And I just kind of have this need to succeed, I guess you would say. I really want to help everybody that I talk to. It's not just about making as much money as I can. Yes, it would be great, but I really want to help these people that I talk to, and majority of my clients end up being friends in the long run, and it's a great, great feeling.
Excellent. And I guess kind of looking forward as you continue to build out your business, what's your vision for your career, say, over the next 5 years?
Over the next 5 years, I honestly want to continue down the path that I'm in right now. Year over year, I've increased my production. I've helped more families move every year since I've started. Down the road, 5 years from now, who knows? I mean, I may possibly be looking to build a team of like-minded agents who kind of make sure they put their clients' needs, in the forefront of their business. And I think that's super important. So maybe a team. I don't know.
And kind of on top of that, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
Getting my words out there, I think, is the most important thing. And another perfect example of why communication is important. I wish I could talk to more people every day without having them have this preconceived notion in their minds about, the big bad real estate agent. It's important that every client really knows that they're important to me, whether I'm selling a multi-million-dollar estate or, a one-bedroom condo somewhere. And again, I think that the biggest way to market myself is just really tell people who I am and what I'm about.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on a topic there about misconceptions, and I think that there tends to be a lot of that when it comes to real estate agent. I think the barrier to entry is pretty minimal. Like we all know, you do a little bit of training, you pass the test, and then you're an agent and you can sell property. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent?
I think it's got a lot to do with the money. They think that real estate agents make too much money, or we're just here to take money from them selling their home. There are many agents out there that do that. Don't get me wrong, there are, that don't go the extra mile for their clients, which I think is why realtors, like myself, have to overcome that misconception. They're not really putting their full effort into something. They think, hey, I can take a couple photos and put something on the MLS and hope that somebody else sells it. I think that's what we're dealing with right now. A lot of people have decided that they're going to try to sell their home on their own. There's a lot of them going on right now. And I think the reason is the real estate agents that they've been dealing with, they don't put the work in. They don't earn that money. They don't earn that commission. They don't market the property the right way.
Yeah, I think what you said there too is that sometimes, like you mentioned, the homeowners are trying to do it on their own. They assume that it's, it's like, oh, I have this camera or this car, I'm just going to put on Craigslist, and it's a simple transaction. Whereas a house is so much more is involved, and a lot of people don't realize the disclosures and contingencies and protections that an agent brings to the table in order to make sure they get the best possible deal and they don't have to deal with all the stress of all the behind-the-scenes paperwork.
Exactly. I mean, it's one thing to bring a buyer and a seller together. It's a completely different thing to hold the deal together until it closes. It's part of the business that I think goes unnoticed for sure.
So let's say you get a call from a family member. They're in another state. Let's say they're up north. They're in New York, and they've had it with the weather, and they're like, all right, that's it. We're selling this house, and we're going to move. We're going to go down to Florida and hang out with Frank. What advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Kind of how you make sure you take care of your people. What would you tell them to look for in selecting an agent?
It's funny because this just recently happened to me. My mother is selling our old childhood home in New Jersey as we speak, and she kind of had the same thing. She still calls me and asks me for advice on what to do and, what should I tell my agent and things like that. Obviously, I tell her, talk to her agent first. But the first thing I would say would be to do some research on the person, on the agent. The most important research to do is look at any customer reviews they have, either on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com. They're there for a reason, and I think that if the reviews kind of hit home with somebody, then you should have a good feeling about it. A couple other things is make sure they have a plan, a marketing plan for your house. Make sure that within that plan includes calling you with updates and a solution to any problems if there's a problem. Get the price legitimized is another one. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that think their home is worth way more than it is, and don't pick an agent just because they say your house is worth more than the other agent did, because they're probably just trying to buy your listing. That's important. Make sure there's legitimate proof on where this price point is coming from. And lastly is, and maybe most important, is make sure that they market the property professionally. Professional photos, please. If your agent, I don't care if it's a friend or a family member, if the agent begins snapping photos of your home with a cell phone, fire them that day. please. I can't tell you how many times it's a running joke in the real estate industry among people that, actually put time, energy, and money into marketing someone's property. We find these photos on the MLS, and it's just laughable, and you feel really bad for the seller in that instance.
Excellent. And Frank, if somebody's looking for real estate, a real estate agent in your area, obviously Jupiter, West Palm Beach area, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Best way is always telephone. My phone number is 561-628-7198. Call me anytime, text me anytime. Go to my website. It's yourhomeinpalmbeach.com. You can email me at frankgaudino@gmail.com. You can get me on Facebook, Frank Gaudino Realtor, or you can get me on Twitter at Mr. Gaudino. I'm pretty big in social media, but the best thing, as with anybody, is going to be call me. I will answer.
Excellent. And Frank, we want to obviously thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come and share your real estate experience with all of our listeners. And if you want to learn more about Frank, like you said, you can go to his website, or you could call him or reach out via social media. Also below this interview, we'll have links to his site, we'll have his number and any other contact information that he's provided so that you can get in contact with Frank and see if it's a good fit and be able to help you out with your real estate needs. So with all that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.